Okay, so the first thing that I like to do, starting out, is I like to take MAC's Studio Finish in NC42 and NC45, and I like to mix those two together. And I'm going to um, heat those up on the back of my hand with a spatula. And I feel like, or I found that's the key to making this product work, if you've had any issues with it in the past, is to heat it up on the back of your hand. I like to lay this down first under my eye with a beauty blender. Actually, this is a Soho sponge. It's not the beauty blender. It's a Soho sponge. It's like an elongated beauty blender. But I like both, but each of them serve their purpose. For this particular time, I'm putting this on the bridge of my nose before I put the foundation on. Normally, I don't do that. And then I like to blend out right under my eye with a fluffy concealer brush. It's a little mini concealer brush. I think I got this one from Sephora, and I like to blend the concealer just right underneath my eye. And I feel, well, I found this has helped prevent creasing later on when I do that. And I'm going to let this sit on my face, and then I'm going to take my foundation. For today, I'm using Match Master 7.5, and I have a little mixing foundation concoction. I take the foundation and I mix that with some Lustre drops, and these are Pearl Lustre drops from MAC. And then I add a little bit of the Benefits Pore Professional with that, and I mix all those together, and I have my little foundation concoction here. And it just adds luster to the face. It also helps add a nice brushing over for the pores if you have issues with those like I do. I just like to minimize my pores any chance I get an opportunity. And then I just blend the foundation into my face, but I try to avoid the areas where I laid down the concealer. And as you can see, I forgot about my nose. So that's one of the reasons why I do not put the concealer on my nose prior to putting the foundation on, because sometimes I will forget. So as you're doing that, just blend that in really good, and you get a nice luster, vibrant kind of like finish to your face. Next, I'm going to go back with the Soho sponge, spray it a little bit, and then the remaining concealer that's on the back of my hand, I'm just going to use that to blend out the concealer that's under my eye that's been kind of setting into my face, and blending that all the way up around my eye area. You don't have to blend it all the way up like that. You can just really just take it to the eye and blend it out like you're giving yourself a facelift kind of a thing. Then I'm putting that into my forehead area and the bridge of my nose again. And also, I think I even put a little bit on my chin and the upper part of my jawline. And you can, yeah. And you don't have to do this part. It's just, it's just your preference when you're highlighting and setting your face and concealing. It just depends on what you want to do. So there, I'm just blending all of those in, trying to get rid of any harsh lines that I have from the concealer. Next, I'm going to take a nice little paper towel, blot that under my eye, and this is just to get rid of any of the excess. And you just do a nice little light pat, nothing hard. Then I'm going to set that with some Ben Nye banana powder that I just put in the lid of another one. Normally, I use sponge wedge to do this. For some reason, my hand went to a fluffy brush and I put that under there. This is not wrong. You can do it any way you want to, but normally I would be using a wedge sponge to put that on. And for some reason, like I said, I just didn't reach for it for this particular time. Next, I'm going to take a bigger sponge and set the rest of it. And this is the beauty blender that I actually have. And I'm just putting a little bit of the banana powder on the areas that I used for the concealer. And I'm just setting that as well. I used a little bitty brush underneath my eye just to make sure that nothing settled in. Next, I'm taking the Cover FX in dark, and I'm using, just put some in a lid, and I'm using the beauty blender to put that in the areas where I would normally contour, in the hollows of my cheek, the sides of my nose. I also like to put a little bit on my chin so that it just blends out the bottom chin color. And then I like to put that on the sides of my nose and also on my forehead because it is ginormous, as you can see. But there's nothing I can do about that. You're born with it. You got to work it. Then you're just going to lightly brush the excess powder off. And be very gentle at this point. I know it looks like I'm like giving myself a facelift, but I'm really not. I'm being very gentle with this part as well. Next, I'm going to take MAC's Mineralized Skin Finish in Deep Dark, and I'm just going to pat that all over my face. Again, just setting it, making for a seamless blended look with the areas that are lighter and the areas that are darker as I'm going over it. And here I'm literally just patting, not causing any abrasive motions. Next, I'm taking MAC's Definitive Sculpting Blush. This is a pro product, but you can also order it offline if you like. I like this better than Blunt. It's a little darker than Blunt, but Blunt does the trick too if you have that. But I really prefer Definitive as opposed to Blunt, but each of them work fine. But yeah, so here I'm just contouring underneath my chin, the hollows of my cheeks. I'm also contouring up and around my cheekbone area, my forehead. Every place that I put the FX dark powder, I'm using those areas and I'm going to use Definitive to contour. I'm also contouring the bridge of my nose, the sides of my nose to emphasize the bridge. This is optional. You don't really have to do this part. I find that I contour my nose more often than not. I'm just used to doing it, but you don't necessarily have to do that part. I just like doing it. Don't ask me why, but I just like doing it. Next, I'm taking one fast minute. It's either one fast minute or one hot minute from Benefits, and I'm using that to highlight my face. I absolutely love this stuff. You cannot go wrong with this powder. I have had too much on the brush and it still blends out very nicely. I absolutely love this highlighting powder, bronzer, whatever you want to call it, bronzer, highlighting powder. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. If you don't have it, check it out. And that's it. Happy holidays.